Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We will be joined momentarily by two Guantanamo survivors, Mansoor Adayfi and Abdelatif Nasser. So my name is Dr. Maha Hilal, and I am the Executive Director of Muslim Counterpublics Lab. And we're here today to talk about Guantanamo and to speak with two survivors who have suffered detention and torture at this infamous prison. So we're bringing on Mansoor and Abdelatif in just a second. Okay, 1 second. We're trying to accept this. Mansoor, are you here? Not sure why you're not able to join. 1 second. Okay. So we are just waiting again. Apologies for the delay. We are just waiting again for Mansoor and Abdelatif. Here's
Hey, I
Mansoor.
can see myself, finally.
Hello, Mansoor. So we're just waiting for Abdelatif, who should be joining us in just a minute.
Okay.
And so again, we're here today on the 23rd anniversary of 9/11 to talk about what happened post 9/11, in particular, the war on terror, and how Muslims specifically have been disproportionately impacted and targeted in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. So again, my name is Dr. Maha Hilal, and I'm the Executive Director of Muslim Counterpublics Lab, as well as a member and supporting organization of the Guantanamo Survivors Fund, which is a fund that was established to provide small grants to the men who have survived Guantanamo and who have been all but abandoned by the US government. With us today is Mansoor Adayfi, uh, a brilliant, amazing friend of mine who is also a Guantanamo survivor and who is the Guantanamo Outreach Director for the Survivors Fund. So he brings with him not only his personal experience, but a wealth of experience and work in dealing with and working with survivors of torture and survivors of Guantanamo. So let me just check where Abdul Latif is. He may be having some trouble joining. So 1 second. Okay. So hopefully we can bring him in. Abdul Latif. Actually, let's try this. Okay. So I just invited him. And again, we're just waiting a second for Abdul Latif to join us. But why don't we, go ahead and start with some of the questions. And then when he is able to join us, we will pass some questions on to him. So Mansoor, thank you so much again for being with us here. It's always such a joy to speak with you and learn more about your experience. Okay, I think here he comes, Abdul Latif. So
Hi.
hi, Abdul Latif. We can't see you.
Hi, can,
We can hear you though.
you can see me?
Now
You can see me?
we see part of your like apartment, but we can't see you.
Okay,
Maybe you just have to
how can I handle
Mhm.
this?
Maybe you just have to switch the direction of the camera. So Mansoor is in Serbia and Abdelatif, you're in Morocco. Okay, why don't I go ahead? Oh, there you are. Perfect. Assalamu alaikum, Abdelatif.
Wa alaikum salam.
It's so nice to see
Salam, everyone.
it's so nice to see you on screen.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much for
No,
having me.
thank you so much for making time, and it's really such an honor to be with both of you here today, and
Yeah,
to hear your stories. So
yeah. Thank you. Thank you very
I
much.
wanted to start with one question, and I have a couple of questions. So I wanted to hear from you both, given, this is the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, obviously an attack that sort of launched the US's war on terror. And you are two of the victims of the war on terror. You've both spent time in Guantanamo, unfortunately. So I wanted to hear from both of you. If you could just tell us, a little bit about your experience at Guantanamo and what helped you survive that experience. So Mansoor, let's start with you and then we'll alternate for the next question.
Of course, expert in in interviews.
So, first of all, thank you, Maha, for this event, or a short one, and it's an important, especially at this day where you know the anniversary of the, the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11, which is the United States misused and abused, and which announced a global war of terror. It's not a war on terror; it's a war of terror. And as we commemorate the victims of 9/11, we must also remember and commemorate those who have been killed, abused, displaced, tens of millions of people. And those people also must have justice. We all want justice. So I was really 18 years old, when I was sold to the CIA, imprisoned in the black site, then transported to Guantanamo, where I spent around like 15 years, tortured, abused, where I become, you know, I grew up from a boy to be a man, and I was, they dehumanized us and demonized us as the worst of the worst, vicious killers. So one of the scenes I remember, one of the interrogators who was interrogating me, I was like naked, beating, and cold water. And I asked him, he was calling me a terrorist. And I said, who is the terrorist? Who is terrorizing who? So we are victims of the United States policies because Mahathir is like many people said 9/11 changed the world. 9/11 did it. The policy of the United States, the misleading, the lies, the deception, the invasion, the torture, that would change the course of history when it comes to United States policies.
Right.
So when you talk about our experience, you know, today I was reading that book. It's called Prisoner 345. This Sami Al-Haj, he was Al Jazeera journalist, and in the bus while I was reading, I cried because I remember one of the stories. It's just a short story. One of the brothers, he had a daughter who has a heart problem, and he was actually collecting money, tried to save $13,000 that she can get surgery, and all of a sudden he was kidnapped from Bosnia to Guantanamo. And one day a lawyer brought him a letter that his daughter died. I remember that day when he came back to the blog. I mean, as as he was the dead one. 3 or 4 months later, his interrogators brought him a letter from his daughter before her death. They took him to the interrogation room, and they brought him the letter to read from his daughter, that daughter who died, like, and she was writing to him. When he came back, I mean, you know, like, this is one of the stories I just remember today, and you know, I thought Guantanamo was not affecting me anymore, but no, it is like this. Because I'm reading my brother's books, and you know, and the story I know, I knew, I lived it, but when you read again and remember it and thought about it, this was Guantanamo. Guantanamo is a symbol of torture, injustice, lawlessness, abuse of power, and there is no inside that place will be closed soon.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Mansoor. That is very hard to hold, and you know, especially for both of you who are survivors. So Abdelatif, tell us a little bit about, you know, your experience and what helped you survive.
Yeah. So about my first of all, thank you very much for having me, and I'm very happy to share a part of my story. My story started not just in Guantanamo. It started from Kabul to Bagram to Kandahar to Guantanamo, and in each place of those places, there is bad things happen. Honestly, in Kabul, in Bagram, in Kandahar, but specifically in Guantanamo, there is something good and something bad. So I don't know where I can start my experience is from Kabul or from Kandahar, from Bagram or from Kandahar. But in each place of these places, I endured kind of torture that I didn't endure in other places. So in each place there is its own kind of torture, its own kind of humiliation, and different the other places. So for example, in Bagram, for example, one of the issue that it happened, for example, and it is a little bit, of course, in addition of deprivation from food, in addition of being subjected to a very high, very harsh weather, very cold weather, specifically at that moment. So we use, for example, if you want to relieve yourself, so you have to be taken outside in the open air where there is a very cold weather, and you are shackled from your feet, and under the watchful eyes of the guard, aimed their arm to you, and even and more than that, keeping you heard their mocking laughing. So imagine the situation. You are going to retrieve yourself. You are going to and in this situation. And as a Muslim, it is something that it is the top of humiliation. For example, to myself, to be naked in front of in the eyes of other guard, and it is away from the guard. It is away from you, maybe just 2 meters away from you. So this one of the issue. Honestly, it is very, very humiliating and very degrading. Things that I endured when I was in Guantanamo, when I was in Bagram. So in Kandahar, it is another issue. It is, as you know, the Kandahar. There is a lack of the basic human necessity, like, for example, cleanliness, like sanitation. So imagine to let people for maybe 3 months without any kind of cleanliness. There is no water, just water that you can drink. So the hair is grew in every part of our body, and without cleaning, that means there are a lot of flies, there are a lot of things. So yeah, so it is in Guantanamo. There is some kind of good tanks and bad tanks, as I said. The good tanks that at least we used to use, for example, water, we can clean ourselves. There are brothers around you. So there is something there, for example, that make us a little bit, and that's what exactly helped us to survive the brutality that we used to endure as in general. As they said, shared sorrow is a half of a sorrow. So as long as we are all enduring the same suffering, we are all enduring the same. So it is sometimes that it is the torture, and it can be more endurable than, for example, when you are alone. So that's the issue. And that's exactly what helped us to survive all this kind of brutality. Of course, we cannot forget, we cannot, for example, deny our strong faith, because we have a faith. We know that it is something, it is designed for us. Allah, when He make it, He didn't make it for no reason. It is a reason there. That's why He chose me, for example, to endure this kind of treatment. Yeah.
Thank you both for sharing. And Abdelatif, I hear in your story, you're talking about solidarity and, the support of the other men and how you supported each other, which I know is a, prominent theme in Mansour's book, Don't Forget Us Here, Lost and Found at Guantanamo. So really just honored to be able to be in this space where you can share these stories and, tell the rest of us, right, how you survived. So now that you're out of Guantanamo, and I know that Abdelatif, it's been a shorter time for you than Mansour, but can you both tell us, what is your life like now, and what are some of the challenges that you face? We'll start with
Okay.
yeah.
So basically, honestly, like I have been working on life after Guantanamo while I started in Guantanamo, basically. So in many cases, life after Guantanamo is Guantanamo 2.0, even worse. Like, as you know, we just now trying to pitch our proposal to publish the book Life After Guantanamo. So since I got out, I have been working in many cases, advocating, writing, campaigning, and so on. And as you know, my bachelor degree was about rehabilitation and reintegration of former Guantanamo detainees into social life and labor market. My experience and the rest of my brothers. So basically, in short words, those prisoners former prisoners who are resettled in countries like Western Europe, they're doing well. There is some difficulties sometimes, but they're doing like the best. But in countries like Eastern Europe, like Kazakhstan, like Senegal, even Oman, the country that we thought it's one of the best resettlement cases. Just the last prisoner was sent back a few days ago under threat. So being out of Guantanamo without rehabilitation, reintegration, our therapy, especially in a country where you don't know the language, you don't have a network of support, no friends, your family cannot visit you, and you came out totally devastated. Like my case, 15 years gap in my life, and it has been really, really challenging, a lot. If alhamdulillah, it was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the networks of support around me, like Yumaha, and one of my supporters, my sister Khadija, and a lot of people. And actually, one of the biggest supporters, my sister Khadija, may Allah bless her, and my family, like Antonio, my lawyers, my brothers, and so on, But in cases like, for example, Asim, he died because he was denied medical treatment in Kazakhstan. Like Abu Umar and the brother who was sent to Senegal, they were also, after 2 years, they were sent back to Libya, where they were imprisoned and tortured. And one of them actually died only 1 year because the suffering and the tortures and he had health issues weren't treated. Then you have cases like people who still, just Rabil Mangazo, who just freed last month. He was in prison in Guantanamo for 15 years and more 7 years in the United Arab Emirates. So Guantanamo hasn't finished with us yet, and we haven't finished with Guantanamo yet. So it's still there. We just moved from Guantanamo 2.1 to Guantanamo 2.0. So this is life after Indian life after Guantanamo. Anything can happen at any time. Do not talk about this stigma. Do not talk about the psychological, physical problems we have to be accepted, to find a job, even expelled from universities, schools, and simply because you were in Guantanamo. So there are a lot of people who struggle in many countries, and like, for example, Oman earlier this year came to the former Guantanamo, Yemeni former Guantanamo prisoners, and they said, you have to go, you have to leave. So imagine after 8 years, establish a family, being productive members, contribute to the society. They were kicked off simply because they were in Guantanamo. So it has been challenging. As you know, we have been trying, as we established Guantanamo Survivors Fund, try to help those who in need, who have like emergency cases. As you know, Maha, we have interviewed some of the former Guantanamo detainees, but they didn't have nothing to support themselves. Imagine Saeed, for example, who was sent to Algeria after 23 years, came out, no family, no friend, doesn't have anything. Even when he was in prison in Algeria, they took his medicine that the United States sent with him from Guantanamo. So imagine he come out after 21 or 22 years, just go to the street, become a homeless. And sometimes, if you think about it, alhamdulillah, as Muslims, we have faith in Allah. People would commit suicide, take their lives, because you have nothing, absolutely nothing. Moreover, you are being surveilled, you are being monitored, you are being harassed, and so on. So with Guantanamo Survivors Fund, what we are trying to do, we are trying to help those who's in need as much as we can. It's not a lot, it's not rehabilitation, it's not reintegration, but we can make some difference. Some people who need to get vocational training, some people who need to buy for a car or truck to start support themselves, some people who need like urgent medical treatment. Like, for example, the Rabil Mangaso, who just released. Now he needs some urgent medical treatment, and we struggling to try to find a way how we can support him. So, and soon, inshallah, you will read the book live after Guantanamo.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Mansoor. And I'm glad you brought up the Guantanamo Survivors Fund again, which we will talk about in just a minute after Abdelatif. If you can tell us, a little bit about what your life looks like now.
Yeah. As my brother Mansoor said, sometimes I feel that the life after Guantanamo, it is much harsh than the life in Guantanamo. Sometimes, not all the time. And my experience, it is not unique. As Mansoor, he said, there are so many people are suffering maybe more than my what I'm suffering. But as the question it is to me, I just want to share my experience. So after my release, I didn't wait too long before I started working tirelessly to find a place in the society that had forgotten about me. So immediately I fulfilled a dream that was haunted me when I was in Guantanamo. A dream it is to own a computer, and I struggled a lot with the administration when I was there about having a computer in the camp. So immediately I bought a computer, and I started working on this computer by my own. So imagine is the first time you started to use a computer. Imagine this is sometime after 3 years. So I opened the computer and I started to specifically now the basics how to use the computer, and after that I dig into skills and earn certificate that I have already showed some of them. Unfortunately, and because of the stigma that being former Guantanamo detainee, and also the unjustified neglect from my government for my situation, I couldn't find this place in the society. So until now, even with this certificate, I offer as an offer for schools that I can be as a teacher assistant for English, for example, for free, just for free. No one care about it. So imagine, even in mathematics, I can, for example, be a mathematics teacher in, for example, elementary school or primary school, because I have a very good education background, specifically in math. And I work, when I was Guantanamo, I worked on my mathematics also. So I offer this offer. Imagine to offer to people, to schools, private schools, that I'm ready to be like, to have like some kind of internship, to be a teacher, assistant teacher in mathematics, in English, for free. But no one cares, just because I have been in Guantanamo. So imagine I went to American English Center, is here in Casablanca. So I applied, I registered myself. I took the first course, the second course. At the third course, the director, he called me. He was American citizen. So he called me and he told, look, Abdelatif, honestly, I was surprised, because you are very, very brilliant in the class, and you are doing a very great job and these things. But it is the first time I know that you have been in Guantanamo. And this hearing center, we cannot accept you as a student, face-to-face student. But we can only accept you to be online student. So what difference between to be online student or to be face-to-face student? So imagine when you are just wanting to improve yourself. You are just want to get information. You are just want to seeking for knowledge, and you are prevented because of Guantanamo. Imagine. So rather than, for example, getting a job, or for example, looking for a wife or something like that. So imagine, I pay for this course. I pay almost $150 for the course, and even so, he said, no, we are sorry. We cannot accept you as face-to-face student, but we can accept you just online student. So these of the things. So until now, honestly, I did everything possible, for example, to start to have some kind of income, to help myself, and to ease the burden that my brother is taking upon him. But unfortunately, I didn't find. So imagine now what. But that's exactly the issue. And even when I apply for Upwork as a data entry, for example, data entry. Just data entry, it is not, because the certificate that I have already earned, it is much higher than data entry, because my goal is to be data analytic. So I am just, before I go to data analytic and to have certificate in data analytic, expert data analytic, I said to myself, okay, before I go to data analytic and become an expert to data analytic, and to ask, for example, for a work for $20 per hour, for example, something like that. So let me test myself. Let me make an attempt, for example, as a data entry. No one hire me, because I don't have experience. Yes, I have certificate, but there is no experience there. So my portfolio, there is no thing there. So that's another issue. another issue, even data entry, I didn't find someone to hire me just for 3 hours, for example, $3 per hour to do his the job that he wants. But because I don't have experience, no one care about this issue. So I did everything possible, but unfortunately, as I said again, the next from my government to handle this issue and to take responsibility. It is own responsibility to handle my situation. Even when I was released from Guantanamo, dinner for today, I take it in Guantanamo dinner, and the day after, I had dinner with my family. I didn't immediately from airport to my house immediately. So there is no restriction since then. There is no restriction upon me at all. And even I was be able to travel to Vienna. So, but unfortunately, for example, to make some kind of to help me in my integration into society and these things, we just keep on looking and just doing nothing at all. Yeah, that's my experience. Yeah.
Thank you, Abdelatif, and I'm very sorry to hear this story, because I mean, it's yet another story, right, of the U.S. Abdicating its responsibility for the pain and suffering that it has caused, both of you, and um, it's just, yeah, it's devastating, and I'm grateful to you for sharing your story, and this is one of the reasons why today, right, we're talking about Mansoor and Abdelatif's story, but also in this context, the Guantanamo Survivors Fund, because you've heard now, right, just two of the stories of what makes life after Guantanamo so difficult. And, Mansoor is the outreach director, and he's been connecting us with many of the men who've survived Guantanamo. And the amount of hardships and barriers and challenges they face to rebuilding their lives are, often insurmountable. So what we try to do is to provide, small grants to survivors. And so, I want to put in just a quick plug that to ask all of you who are watching, not only to donate, but also to share Mansoor and Abdelatif's story and encourage people, right, to learn more about Guantanamo, and again, also to donate. So I did put the link in the comments. So it's bit.ly, Gitmo, Gitmo, Survivor Fund. So again, please donate if you can. Whatever you can matters. So I want to just ask you guys two more questions. And the first question that I want to ask you of the last set is, can you tell me and can you tell us, what does justice mean to you and for you now that you have survived Guantanamo?
Okay, Maha, I mean, like, I don't know if I have survived Guantanamo or not. That's not, I don't know if I can say that. But, freedom without justice is incomplete. Justice goes beyond personal freedom. And it's justice in this case, it's part of the freedom. And when we talk about justice in this case, it's not just about personal justice, because the justice must be collectively for everyone who affected by the United States, what is called global war on terror. There must be a responsibility for the atrocities in Guantanamo, Abu Ghraib, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and so on. And it's not about closing Guantanamo. It's about dismantling the system that created Guantanamo and legalize the torture and abuses and allow the extrajudicial killing. There must be also acknowledgement. The United States haven't acknowledged nothing about what they have done. There is no apology. There must be also compensation. A reparation for the victims and survivors and so on. And most importantly, it's accountability. It's accountability that we can ensure this cycle of violence ends. If there is no accountability, trust me, Guantanamo tomorrow is going to be used to hold American citizens in Guantanamo itself. Because the system that allowed Guantanamo to exist, the policy that allowed torture to exist. It's going to be the same policy, the same people, the same system. So that's when we say there must be acknowledgement, apology, reparation, and accountability. Accountability and accountability. You know, it is simple. That's what justice means. This is what justice, and justice is not just for me. You know, in this case, justice can't be for one individual. It must be collectively. Tens of millions of people who have been affected by this, by the what's called global war on terror or of terror.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mansoor. And Abdelatif, can you talk to us a little bit about justice?
Yeah, yeah. I can just add what my brother Mansoor said. So after being detained arbitrarily for 20 years without trial or charge and subjected to all form of torture and being forced to live in a very degrading and humiliation situation. So justice for me goes beyond mere release. For me, justice first, it is acknowledgement of the harm that has done, and accountability for those who do it, this harm. And above all, is to ensure that these kind of mistreatments never happens to anyone else. The second, thanks in my perspective, in my perspective, my interpretation for justice is to get the help that I need, either from my government to take responsibility or for a human rights organization to help me to go back to my normal life and to remove all the barriers that prevent me to start my life as normal as any Moroccan citizen. That's my interpretation for my justice here.
Thank you both for sharing. And so, you know, along with that, I mean, my last question for you both is, you know, in continuing to persevere, I hear you, Mansoor, and you say you don't know if you've survived Guantanamo. But in listening to your stories and, you know, thinking about your lives post Guantanamo, what are some of your dreams and aspirations for the future? And are there ways that we can support you in those dreams and aspirations?
You know, honestly, I hope to see the world where justice is not just after my thought. It should be a foundational principle where human dignity is respected, where no one has to go through what we have been through, injustice, torture, abuses, and so on. And, you know, this is one of the reasons I continue to work advocating for Guantanamo prisoners, former Guantanamo prisoners, and those who are wrongly imprisoned. It is a simple dream, you know, it is simple, but it is, you know, it's really important. It's a life necessity for us to have justice, to enjoy the dignity, to enjoy being humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. That's very powerful. And Abdelatif.
Yeah, about my inspiration and my dream. Honestly, it is to secure some kind of income, to start a job and to secure some kind of income, because that will help me to fulfill the other dream, is to start a family. Because here in Morocco, you cannot, for example, be able for example, to start a family and, for example, to look for a wife or something like that before you get a job. That the mentality about housing is not a big problem for me, but the problem it is to secure some kind of income. Once I get this income, immediately I will go ahead to look for my partner, because the time it is not in my side, specifically for a Muslim, for example, to want, for example, to do something, because honestly it is not easy for a Muslim to say. So this issue. So and this on one hand. The other hand, about my education is, once I started, for example, as a data entry, for example, I start to get job, I will go to data analytic, and honestly, I am really keen to one day to become a data analyst. I will not stop in data analytic. I have a lot of things, for example, I want to fulfill in my dream, as long as I have still the aptitude to learn and to get informed. So I will not stop at data analytic, but for most important for me at the moment is to secure some kind of income. It is not specifically so just some kind of income, and to start a normal life in a society. That's exactly the issue. Yes, that's my inspiration and my dream. Yeah.
Well, I want to really thank both of you for being on this broadcast today. I know that this is probably a day that doesn't bring back the fondest of memories, and is sort of where your story of Guantanamo begins in many ways. And when we think about the ways that Muslims have been targeted and have suffered in the course of the war on terror, your stories are very crucial to understanding what exactly that has meant. So, again, really grateful to you, both of you, right, for sharing your stories. And as always, we at the Guantanamo Survivors Fund want to provide this support to survivors, and also, whatever the communities you belong to. I'm always, of course, happy to support both of you, and I work, with Mansoor quite frequently. So whatever it is, right, that we can do, please be vocal about that, because the world needs to hear what has been done to you, and the world, including Americans, right, we need to address the violence that you suffered. So I just want to end with one quick, another plug for the Guantanamo Survivors Fund. Again, please donate. We've been able to raise about $100,000 in the last 2.5 years to support 33 men, but it's definitely not enough, and we would love to raise more money so that we can support as many survivors as possible. So I did put the link in the chat, in the comments, and again, it is bit.ly/Gitmo Survivor Fund. And please do share this broadcast with your friends, your family, and continue to share the story of Guantanamo. Because as Mansoor said, he hasn't survived Guantanamo, right? What does that actually mean to survive Guantanamo? And beyond that, Guantanamo still exists. Guantanamo is still a physical place of imprisonment of Muslim men. And until we address the legacy of Guantanamo, it will never really be over. So thank you all again for joining us today, and special thank you to Mansoor and Abdelatif.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Salam. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.